We welcome to the show John Congemi, who joins us for Dateline Dolphins. John, how are you, my friend?
Defo, I'm doing well, and that's not the only thing that's going to reach a new height. I'll be at about 220, 225 after this football season if we visit too much. Because the food's outstanding down at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill.
Grab a bagel and a schmear, plus some Defo and Lubie. Welcome back to the Defo Show.
Well, it's been an interesting morning, to say the least, in terms of talk about technical fuck-ups. I mentioned to John and Lubie that this is like the Exxon Valdez, this coffee spill. And then the other weird thing about doing this is you don't know if you're still on. Like, Lubie left me, and I'm sitting here, and I'm thinking, thank God I didn't go into some form of masturbation or something. We really hit a jackpot with our sponsors. That happened to that guy on CNN, right? He started jerking off while he was on the air, and, he was on a conference call, I guess. So ever since COVID, you really have to be careful about what you do with computers. With that welcoming, how are you, John Congemi? A wild weekend of football, my friend.
Yeah, wild weekend. Hope you guys are doing all right. Defo, what happened? You sound like you should be on either in concussion protocol or did you run into something? What happened to you?
Well, it's a double whammy because, I actually don't feel as bad as I sound. Although that's sort of been coming and going. But, I lost the voice a couple of days ago. And when I was in the Bahamas, I didn't see this rock ledge that I walked into, and I screwed up my foot really bad. I feel like O.J. McDuffie at the end of his career, right? I mean, just, can anybody diagnose what the problem is? Right? He got about $13 million from those doctors who screwed him over.
Think if you could follow in those footsteps, you'd be doing okay.
Well, unfortunately, I am following in those footsteps because my foot feels awful. And so head to toe, I'm having problems, John. As most people have considered my entire life. How are you, by the way? You look great. You sound great. I mean, everything's going. You're the only guy doing well today.
You know what, Defo? What a crazy weekend for football. I mean, can it get any worse? If you're Bill Belichick and you had it so good for so many years, right? I mean, just kneel on the football. What do you need to even run a play for there? You're going to go to overtime. Just kneel on the football. We're going to overtime. We don't need to do anything, or at least just chuck one down the field. And there's no laterals because bad things happen. That's a play of desperation. You're not in a spot of desperation. You're just going to go to overtime. That's
exactly.
If you were losing, it makes sense.
Right.
Okay, you try it. It never works. I mean, it worked for the Stanford band was the last time.
Yeah, and the Dolphins against
California.
Him.
Yeah,
okay,
right.
It worked. But.
To see Belichick losing on clown plays, though, kind of really dashed my, thought that he was a candidate for Coach of the Year. I really believe that he was. I mean, he would be the Coach of the Year in almost any year, if you look back on it. And it's like, should Wilt have been the MVP? Yeah, of course. Every year, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, once in a while, they would slip in like Steve Nash for Shaq for MVP. You're like, wait a minute, man.
Yeah.
If Shaq shows up at the park and Steve Nash shows up at the park, and you each need one guy, who you grabbing with the first pick?
Yeah, but don't you, after that play, if you're Bill Belichick, don't you just go hug your former offensive coordinator, say, great game, go right to a strip club in Vegas and just get shit-faced for like 3 days.
Right across the street,
Wednesday.
Literally. Yeah, my friend owns a strip club.
Yeah, you just go show up on Wednesday in New England, all right, for the team meeting. You just don't even get on the plane.
I mean, that's crazy. That whacked him. I saw that Kornacki guy who I like, on football. The guy that does all the weird stats with the elections. And he was on last night on Sunday Night Football. And he showed that play may have it reduced the Patriots' chances of making the playoffs from about 48% down to like
25 to 30%, right?
Yeah.
Difference. Yeah.
So that's a tragedy. I mean, you don't expect that to happen to a guy. People thought the old man Shula had lost it at the end, but nothing like that. We were being beaten on a clown play. That was awful. Did you catch this? I have never seen a quarter of football a worse offensive display than Tom Brady in the third quarter. of that Tampa Bay game against the Cincinnati Bengals. A big game for obviously both clubs, as it seems like every game is at this point in time. But you ever seen a series like that? I mean, they're winning easily 17-3. They're dominating the game. The 3 came at the buzzer, at halftime on a field goal on a, kind of a sketchy nothing drive. And, they, are dominating this ball game. And then all of a sudden, I mean, everything went up in smoke.
Yeah, it was crazy. Before halftime, it's 17-0, and you get the feeling that Tampa Bay is going to take it to 24 and then maybe 27, and the Cincinnati may get on the board. So Cincinnati puts together a halfway, semblance of a good drive and piece some plays together before halftime. They get the field goal, and I kind of flipped over to the other games. I go to red zone now, and I'm going, this game's kind of over because you're going to get the ball in the second half. They're going to score again. And now Burrow's going to be in desperation mode. Well, you get a couple fumbles, you get a pick, you get all kinds of things happen. And all of a sudden the game totally flips on its head. And that doesn't happen. For that to happen to Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in the same weekend is it's probably, it's how long has it been since, most dominant player in professional football for the last 20 years and the most dominant coach of a team in the last 20 years. That doesn't happen in the National Football League like that. So it took a really good team on the other side to kind of not make it happen, but take advantage of the opportunity that they were presented, right? So Joe Burrow turns into Joe Montana. He starts, picking people apart. He gets his playmakers involved. Tyler Boyd catches a touchdown. Chase starts going nuts. And all of a sudden, it looks like, okay, you're passing the torch, right?
Well, in the beginning, too, I mean, they were struggling to take advantage of it. Right? They had a fourth down play. They weren't really, all of a sudden, they get the ball back, and it took them like 7 plays to score from the 11-yard line. It was kind of interesting because they did everything in their power to leave Tampa Bay in control of this game. And I've never seen a Brady team fall apart. But I will give this as an explanation. Because I was watching this piece on 60 Minutes last night about what is it, the Lords, the miracle of the Lords, where, these people, like a zillion people go to this place where they have the holy water in Italy somewhere.
Okay.
And,
I'm gonna have to believe you on this one, Defo. I haven't seen. I'm gonna have to trust you.
Well, I mean, I love this. This piece was great, actually, because there have been 7 declared miracles or I don't know, something like that. There have been a number of declared miracles that are medically inexplicable.
Right.
And that there's just no way that you could
Back
figure out
this,
how this happened. Yeah. Right? Doctors have examined these cases and said there's no way this woman could be walking. Unless there was some divine intervention here. And, you're looking at, I think it's justifiable because Giselle was in Brazil. And I believe she is bitter about what happened with Tom.
Right.
Now, I don't know about Brazilian curses. I mean, to what extent, but you could only explain that away that it was some matter of the occult that suddenly had Brady, who was like throwing a ball with like razor-like precision.
Yeah.
And, I mean, just unbelievable first half of that game. I'm looking at it going, wow, Brady looks really good. First time this year I've seen him where he actually looked good outside of, a couple of late drives there in those 2 miracle comeback games. But this straight up, I mean, looked like a curse. No, there was no other way to explain it. A complete reversal of form. I mean, did that ever? I mean, it's happened to every guy that plays sports, whatever sport, where, you can't miss in the first half, the second half, it's all bricks. I don't know. Did you ever experience a game like that when you were playing?
You know what? There was a couple of games I don't remember off the top of my head, but you're right about momentum and one good play turning like your day completely around, or the other way. You feel like you can do no wrong, and all of a sudden one bad thing starts to lead to other bad things. Yeah, it happens in sports, but it usually doesn't happen. I mean, it happens to everybody, but that might be the only time you've seen it implode that way for that player, right? It just doesn't happen to those guys that often. So when it does, it gets magnified because you're going, it can't happen to Tom Brady. It can't happen to Dan Marino. It can't happen to, the best at their position, right? So you're thinking, next week might be whoever Tampa plays, it's going to be, it can't be all that bad, right? And the worst thing about it, you were talking about watching that guy at halftime where the percentages go up or down compared to the New England game. How about this? I don't know if it was him, but somebody in a halftime show was talking about after it must have been Sunday Night Football, that had Tampa Bay is like at 5 or 6 wins or something like that. They were talking about the scenario if the Steelers are, don't pull it out against Carolina and Carolina wins, they would have been leading the division, and they have, everybody's got a losing record.
Dreadful, yeah.
Right.
Well, and they're all within one game. I mean, the other 3 teams, they're all 5-9, and
everybody's got 9 losses. And it's like.
I always hated that as a sports fan when some shit team got in because they won a bad division. But I mean, it's unfortunate.
It's happened to that division before. I remember New Orleans and Carolina. So I think Carolina might have got in with a losing record, and they got routed in the wild card weekend.
No, it's you have a couple of divisions that look like they could send all of their teams.
Yep. Well, you have the AFC East. The AFC East, other than the implosion, from New England. And then Detroit winning at the end there, both of those teams should have won.
Yep.
And now the Dolphins are kind of going, wow, we're in a 3-game losing streak again, and we got to right the ship on Christmas Day, or we have to win against the division rivals to close out the year.
Life takes a lot of strange twists and turns, John Congemi, when I'm willing every week to bet every dime I own on the Detroit Lions. And it's been working.
Right.
I mean, I thought they were the best 1-6 team in football when they were 1-6. Dan Campbell now emerges for me as a Coach of the Year candidate.
He is. What do you mean?
And I thought
the sacrificial lamb worked, Defo.
Yeah, exactly.
Favored on the road against the New York Jets by 2 and a hook, and they win by 3. And it was an absolute thing of beauty. And they're covering point spreads like no tomorrow. If you wanted to have a nice Christmas, bet against the Chiefs every game. My God, they can't cover a point spread to save their ass, and barely got out of this game. So it looked like from this week, I've thought Philadelphia was somewhat vulnerable all year, even though they only have 1 loss. And the Chiefs are certainly vulnerable. They almost lost to the Houston Texans yesterday. So, I mean, who is it? I mean, what are we looking at? Buffalo, all the way.
Buffalo.
But they're life and death to beat this Dolphin team that supposedly is horrendous under these conditions.
I still think that whoever wins home field advantage, whether it's Kansas City or Buffalo, is going to have an enormous advantage in terms of getting to the Super Bowl. Now, right now, it looks like Buffalo might be that team, or Kansas City. It's 50-50 for me because I think they're pretty equal. I thought the Dolphins in that game played over their head for moments of the game. They played the way you expected them to play. They bounced back. But I didn't have any doubt that Buffalo was going to find a way to win that game watching it. And it's funny because the Dolphins settled for field goals early, which is okay. You're getting points, but they settled for field goals early.
Which they haven't been doing. I mean,
they've been scoring, right? They've been scoring touchdowns. But Mostert was incredible in the first half. Okay, I think he had 11 rushes for over 100 yards, but then they run him 6 times in the second half.
I don't get it.
Brett Tessler was saying that in the first part of the show, which was quite some time ago, and that's his client.
Yeah.
Hey, wait a minute, man. The other team hasn't solved the problem of stopping this guy, so why are you not continuing to feature that until they put enough pressure on Mostert in the running game that now you freed up your passing game, which is what every team desires to do.
Right. And I do believe the Dolphins handled the elements really well. I thought they did a good job.
The elements didn't seem that bad except for the snowballs.
It wasn't. You know what? To be quite honest with you, it was just, in the 30s. The wind wasn't too bad. It wasn't rain. It wasn't snow until the fourth quarter, So
that's a spring day in Buffalo. It really is.
For this time of year, you'll take that.
Yeah.
Especially what the forecast had projected it to be, how bad it was going to be. But I thought that, the Buffalo had a 12-play, 82-yard drive to end the half. They score points, right? They go up 21-13. Then Miami responds. They get a roughing the kicker penalty, which they turn into points. The problem was when they got that strip sack and they didn't go down and punch it in I think they had the ball around the 50-yard line, 40-yard line. They settle for 3. They get points, which is good. You have the lead. But Josh Allen is a different guy. He's a different animal at the position, right? He's one of the elite. If you're going to say elite, good, great, you start stacking guys in columns. He's that guy, and he proved it again, because he took a team down in really bad elements, right? And the good thing about Josh Allen, the way he played the position, he was throwing catchable passes to players under extreme circumstances. The weather was brutal when he was taking the team down to win the game. He could have drilled the football like he did in the first half. He was just throwing little touch passes. He was giving guys opportunities to make plays. And he was orchestrating it in a way where he used his legs again. And that's been the real killer. If you go back and look at Josh Allen playing the Miami Dolphins, in 9 regular season games before Sunday's game, he was averaging 53 yards per game and 8.5 yards per carry. In that game last night, or on Saturday night, he ran for 81 yards and he averaged over 10 yards per carry. That theme continues to kill the Miami Dolphins because his ability to scramble, but then also call design runs by Ken Dorsey, the offensive coordinator. The Miami Dolphins have no answer for it, and most of the NFL has no answer for it.
Well, and here's the thing, and look, McDaniel, and I keep reminding myself, year 1, right? And he's coached ahead of the curve, all right? So when there are issues and people start freaking out, it's like, look, the fact that you expect this much out of him in year 1 shows how good of a job he's done. The last 2 weeks, the game plan should have been changed a little. He didn't. This week he did. They ran more, and it was working. My problem is, and Defo has said this since I first started working with him, and it's annoying, but every time in a game, when I'm watching and I'm like, what the fuck play call was that? I hear Defo saying, don't get cute. Don't get cute. And when I don't understand, and McDaniel is literally doing the smartest guy in the room syndrome in all of these, like, the run's working, man. Yes, fine. On first down, sometimes you only get a yard. Okay, run it again. I would sit there yelling at the TV, run it. And I've never wanted a team to run it. I want to open it up. But if the run's working and you're getting yourself into 3rd and short, 3rd and manageable, and if you're on their side of the field, 4th and manageable, like, I don't understand. And I get it. It's first year again. And I think he owns his stuff. So I give him credit for that. But it's like, is there no one on? And I talked with OJ McDuffie about this last week. Like, in the game, when everyone can see something's working and the coach, for some reason, is in his box, like, there's no one that can be like, hey, it was really frustrating because the game was there. They had an 8-point lead, and they actually had a 5-point lead, and were moving the ball. It's like, fuck, if they can get a touchdown here, 9 minutes left, be up 2 scores. The Bills were not quick striking it. The defense was annoying, but they weren't quick striking. It's like, if you can get a 2-score lead, and they move right down the field, and then it stalled. And it's like, could you stop running it? Like, what happens there? Like, there's no one that can get to the coach and be like, dude, please.
Usually at that point of the game, you're looking for one of your offensive linemen, say Robert Hunt, to go and pick up the head coach and start shaking him like this. And you go like, if you don't run the ball, I'm going to beat the shit out of you.
Exactly. Right? That's what I'm saying. Like,
that's basically what needed to happen, because sometimes you outsmart yourself. Sometimes you get too cute with the play calling list. You could have run 12 plays in that game if you're Mike McDaniel and beat the Buffalo Bills. Had you had 4 of those plays be running plays, and continued to repeat them out of different formations and different motions, because the Bills weren't stopping the Dolphins on the ground. The Dolphins were actually on both sides of the football controlling the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
But you tend to go to your comfort zone as a coach sometimes, because you look at Tyreek Hill and you look at Jalen Waddle, and you've seen some explosive plays happen in the game. I mean, Waddle goes for 67 yards on an explosive play. Hill catches one over the top, explosive play. You think you're going to continue to get that, but you lose the fact that you're really controlling the game on the ground, and really took the lead and, dominated the line of scrimmage by letting your guys play. So sometimes I think you get you run back to what feels right for you as a play caller, and you lose sight of the fact that somebody needs to bump you or hit you in the headset and go, "Hey, coach, let's run that same play that Mostert just got 11 on and 13 and gashed the Bills in the first half for 107 yards. Let's get back to that. Maybe just masqueraded in a different formation or a different motion, but let's get back to that because the linemen are asking for it and it's been working." So yeah, I think sometimes keep it simple, stupid does apply.
Well, to the people that are in a panic, I would say this: use a boxing parallel. I thought the Dolphins were in there kind of with a big puncher, and they held their own for a long period of time. And you're hoping maybe to get to the scorecards and not get yourself knocked out, and they did.
Yes.
And then if you look at the two games, they beat them once, and they're right there with them the second time. And that game could have gone either way, no matter what. You could look at a zillion different factors there, calls, this, that. If Buffalo is indeed the elite team that everybody perceives them to be, which they seem to be, I would agree with you. They look like it's either them, as you said, John, or Kansas City, the top teams in the AFC. Kansas City has shown great vulnerability all throughout the season, as they are the worst team besides the Buccaneers against the point spread in the National Football League, which tells you that they're not handling teams in the way or the fashion that most people would think. The Dolphins are right there. I mean, if they get in a matchup with the Buffalo Bills, they get a third fight. This is no different than watching some trilogy with Manny Pacquiao against any of the great guys that he went 3 fights with. And you're saying anybody could win that one. And that's not a bad position to be in, really.
It's not. The Dolphin fans shouldn't jump off the ledge, right? They should hold true to what the 3 games ahead of them have. Kansas City, in my opinion, is the cat playing with the ball of yarn, in the corner. They're just told, we're going to win, but we're going to try this. We're going to try that. We're going to do this. I'm going to throw one behind my back. I'm going to, throw one over my head and see, how I can keep this.
It's like he's filming a commercial, Mahomes, during the game.
They're so good that they get bored with themselves, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
Buffalo, I think, is an elite team. Now, the 2 matchups between the Dolphins and the Bills, remember, the first time out here at Hard Rock, the Buffalo Bills, the secondary was decimated with injuries. Buffalo had no starters in the secondary. Same for Miami in Buffalo because they were losing guys at a high rate. They had 1 starter in X. Everybody in Holland, everybody else was in and out. Holland played half the game, hurt. So you had guys playing different positions, and I think that helped Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills out at the end of the game as well. So, maybe, just as in boxing, it's all about matchups, right, Defo? How you match up against the team. You would think the Buffalo Bills are clearly a better team than the Miami Dolphins, but when you put them on the field and you go X's and O's and player for player, the matchups kind of, make that game more of a touch, 3, 4, 5, 6 point game instead of a 10-point game where, Buffalo might be favored over the Titans or Buffalo might be favored over, Baltimore. It's a different type of scenario. So for Dolphin fans, they have control of their own destiny. The Dolphins beat New England and they beat the Jets. They're in, right? They're going to get to the playoffs no matter how the Green Bay game goes. I believe that's the scenario. But you'd like to beat Green Bay and have one in the bank, which should happen. That should happen.
We'll see. I mean, it'll be. I would be amazed if they didn't win another game.
Schwitzing over the number 8 right now.
I'm not really schwitzing over it. I think they've demonstrated enough. That was a nice bounce back game for them against the Buffalo Bills, even in a loss. It was a toss up, as a lot of NFL games have become in terms of the outcome, win or lose. I thought they acquitted themselves pretty well in that game. Overall,
I've been thinking
against a really good Buffalo Bills team. And I want to say this. I'm falling in love with Josh Allen as a human being. I really am.
He seems like the sweetest guy.
He's got a little Jim Kelly in him in the way that he plays. It's not necessarily all like perfection and perfect form. You're not going to see him always in the technique book. But, as you said, he's firing a ball at different times, and then he's got some touch. He's got a little bit of everything mixed, and the running makes him really an interesting commodity at quarterback.
Fun to
he's
watch.
Such a big, strong runner. But personality-wise, I mean, I'm amazed at how cool this guy is. I really am from what I've seen of him.
You know what? He does a lot in that community, and he does a lot for kids. He does a lot for, underprivileged guys. It just, you'd like to hear and see stories like that. And it's not just him. It's all around the National Football League. But
very humble,
specifically, specifically for him, he does so much, off the field. And it's good that, people are shining a light more on that, because you tend to think him just a football player, and you don't get to see the human being that he is and what he does for maybe people that don't have those same opportunities. So yeah, he's a good story all the way around, Defo.
One thing I wouldn't have had to worry about with my foot, needing like some kind of surgery or something, is walking out in the water there at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill.
Exactly.
There are no hidden rocks.
No.
None of that stuff that you can damage yourself with. I mean, you're going to go there and have a good time, and you're going to have a good time.
Yes.
And not feel lingering effects like weeks later where, you don't even know what the solution is. And then on top of that, at very reasonable prices, especially by comparison to anything I had in the Bahamas, you're going to get some of the greatest food that you'll ever find at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill in Key Largo.
Yeah, and you're going to get first-class service as well. I spent the weekend with my brother and Amanda. They celebrated their 10th wedding anniversary, so
nice,
and Jamie were there. So it was awesome.
Is that one the statute of limitations is up though? On
I think so.
Understanding.
I think so.
Yeah,
they had a great celebration, and everybody always has a smile on their face when they're at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill in Key Largo. I mean, it's an easy place to get to anywhere if you're coming from Miami or Fort Lauderdale. It's just one of those places where you get there, you can go to the sports bar and kind of take in the NFL scene. You got the bowl season on. I know over the weekend you had the World Cup. So it was a lot of fun getting down there, and you got the live band on the weekend. You have the restaurant, you have the tiki bar. You've got great service and food. So from the start of your trip to the end, you have a smile on your face because you're eating well, you're drinking well, and you're getting first class service at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill.
How was the Argentinian contingent down there? Were they watching this thing?
There were some horns blowing going down. Mile marker.
They allow vuvuzelas on the grounds there.
Yeah.
I would think Jimmy would be appalled by that. All right. So, and what did you think of all that, John Congemi? Penalty kicks deciding your international championship. It is only conducted every 4 years. This is the most monumental moment in the sport, and you're going to go out there and put a guy literally in front of a firing squad and give him a blindfold and a cigarette.
There's something to be said though. Sometimes if you've done it that way all the time, for the whole history of that championship, I think that you continue. NHL does it a different way during the season, and then they go back to the old traditional way in the playoffs where you have to win, by a 20-minute period. If you don't do it, you go again. You can continue to go again.
Which maybe they should consider changing. Honestly.
Yeah, I don't know what's good or bad, but
when you have those 6-period playoff games,
they go back to the old traditional way, and I think they do it in the World Cup. So it was exciting. It was definitely suspenseful because you're at the edge of your seat, going, "Is this guy going to stop one? Is he going to miss?" And then you get the two dynamic players in the World Cup, both scoring, in extra time, and then both, getting an opportunity and penalty kicks. So it was pretty cool, I thought.
I will say this: the second Argentina goal would, if they did that all the time, I would like the game, right? Where it goes to 4 different guys. One guy hits it, the other guy hits it off his knee, this guy hits it off his chest. It bounces off the referee. It goes to the left. He sends it into the center. Messi dribbles around 3 guys, kicks it behind his back to a guy on the left side, and boom, he kicks it into the goal. That was great. I mean, that was a lot of fun. The rest of it, you could kind of have. Yeah. Plus, I never thought I'd see the day. I mean, I come from the wars, of words between Buffalo fans and Miami Dolphin fans, where we used to, you'll appreciate this, having done a lot of radio and broadcasting of this type here, as we're doing now, where we used to link up with a Buffalo station on the talk show and simulcast insults going back and forth between callers from the two stations. Right. And the general perception was that everybody in Buffalo is an overweight imbecile who will go outside in 12-degree temperatures with no shirt on, eat kielbasa in the parking lot while walking around barefoot, come in and act like a complete idiot with some stupid thing on his head. And, that they're all, wearing bowling shoes to their weddings. And other than eat chicken wings, the only thing they do is bowl and root for the Buffalo Bills, right? And that would come from South Florida. And I can't believe that I find myself, after all these years, actually liking something about the Bills because I really do believe this Josh Allen, every time I hear him speak, he's saying something. I go, why? How cool could this guy possibly be? So,
what I mean, he's constantly giving praise on Tua. It's like, what? It's like, what is going on?
Yeah,
this is so weird.
I like him.
Now it's hard not to like him.
But how do you like Buffalo? I mean, how could you possibly like
Exactly.
Buffalo here in South Florida for any period of time? I used to love that when our callers would just absolutely, crush the Buffalo Bills fans. We didn't have much to say, right? What are they going to say? We're in fucking sunshine.
Right.
Look at you.
And also, you think back to the good old days for the Miami Dolphins when the heyday of the 70s. I don't think the Buffalo Bills won in the decade of the 70s.
No, they were getting crushed.
I think they lost every game. So,
yeah, I still have visions of Andre Reed running by Louis Oliver.
Yeah.
And you're thinking Thurman Thomas just breaking 7 tackles and rolling into the end zone, and everybody just completely deflated, laying
just kind of shaking your head.
Marino on the sideline screaming at Duper and Clayton, "You better catch this!" It was a rough time there for a while, for sure. Yeah. All right, we'll come back with more. Lots more to talk about with John Congemi here. It's John Congemi's Pigskin Playbook here on the Defo Show, brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. I do want to mention more jackpots being won in Hialeah Park. Check them out, and they'll have a big holiday schedule at HialeahPark.com. You can find them there on the website and or on their Facebook page. They'll give you all the things that are happening, very, very special events leading up to Christmas, which is happening this Sunday, which what better way to celebrate Christmas than to win a big jackpot on a slot machine, and maybe even carry the slot machine out of there, and put it in your game room. All right, coming back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
I'm almost making it to the wire here without.
Almost. Relax. Just let us get through, Mayo.
Can you believe that Tucker missed 2 field goals in that Ravens?
Yes, I didn't see that. I didn't see that. I heard.
Like shanked one. It's 8:48.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Recently, we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752. Would you go into to be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep, no more. and buy us sleep to say we end the heartache and 1,000 natural shocks.
What could that have been about, except
Gambling.
to hedge or not to hedge?
The modern day odd couple, Defo and Lubie, are on now. It is, of course, the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. A little Pigskin Playbook with John Congemi here on the Defo Show as we start you out on this Christmas week Monday. Happy Hanukkah, by the way, John. I don't know if the Congemis.
Same to you guys.
Congemis. We didn't think Mayo was Jewish, right? We thought he was Italian. So anyway, and anything special? Oh, you have family coming in, right, for Christmas? Did you say?
No.
Oh no, you're going to Toronto, right?
Yeah, just spending it with the family. That's all. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice. All right, that sounds good. And you had the anniversary celebration. You're living a dream, my friend. Absolutely living a dream.
Trying to.
Okay, I mean, it's interesting because as you look at the status of what's going on in the National Football League overall, there's still like a zillion possibilities of things that can happen. A lot of teams, this is exactly what, Pete Rozelle, they always talk about, he's probably smiling from the grave because the parity thing is what he was looking for. And even with 17 games, it's hard to separate. It seems like every single game you look at, you could say, whoa, this is a big one for both teams.
Yep.
With a few exceptions, but you even have teams with really lousy records like we were talking about in the Bucks division. That still have a lot to play for, which, with 3 games left in the season, very, very interesting. I mean, a ton of stuff can happen the rest of the way.
Yeah, and with the way the Lions are a team, you kind of root for, I guess.
I love the Lions now, and they're my favorite team. I bet them every week. Every week. And Dan Campbell could be a coach of the year, right?
Yes, I think so. I think he's one of the candidates, right? I mean, they were a 1-win team 7 weeks ago, and all of a sudden they turned it right around. And they're right in the thick of things. They're still on the outside looking in, but they're giving themselves opportunities to get there. And on the AFC side, if you're a Baltimore Ravens fan, you're hoping that your quarterback's able to come back and turn the tide a little bit. In a division where you should be in control with Cincinnati, both of those teams vying for to solidify where they are in the playoff spot. And closer to home for the Dolphins, you've got 3 games left and you control your destiny. So I guess there's no other way you would want it to be unless you were already a 10-win team and you were in the playoffs and you can kind of jockey for position. But in McDaniel's first year, I think you couldn't ask for more, especially with the addition of Tyreek Hill, with the emergence of Tua Tagovailoa playing so much more consistently throughout the middle of the season. Once he was away from the concussion protocol and got straightened out there, you ran into a couple good teams on the road, is what happened. We were looking at this schedule way back when, and we said, yeah, the Dolphins are going to race to 7 or 8 wins in the middle of that schedule, and then they're going to have 3 games in a row that are on the road. I don't see them winning one of them. Maybe the Charger game, you thought you'd circle that was the game they'd win of the 3, but now they've survived. Hopefully they survived this 3-game losing streak with a position to do what they need to do at the end, and where this wanted to be at the end, where they start to play really good football. And it started in Buffalo. They lost the game, but they played pretty solid, for 4 quarters. So if you can build that into, you never want to say it was a moral victory in the National Football League because it's about winning and losing. But you have to take something good out of that if you're a fan, especially going, hey, they played toe-to-toe with arguably the best team in the AFC. So if they can do that, and they win at home against Green Bay and then beat 2 division foes, they're on a roll getting into the playoffs, and that's the way you want to enter.
That'd be nice. I mean, let's hope that happens. I would like to see that scenario play out because I think they have been a quality, entertaining team throughout most of the season. I'm a big fan of the meaningless interview with the coaches, either leaving the field after the first half.
At halftime, yeah.
Okay, so the Buffalo coach, whose name for the time being escapes me.
Sean McDermott.
McDermott. Okay.
That interview was priceless.
Wasn't that great, man? That was fantastic. And you contrast that with McDaniel, who was like Nietzsche compared to these guys. I mean,
You never know what McDaniel's saying.
he's talking about the meaning of life for like 15 minutes while you're watching wild action in the background. And McDermott is like, we got to make some plays. And then, I mean, he made Popovich look eloquent in those situations. And I was thinking, I texted Leslie Visser. I said that was an insane, because she could appreciate this, having done this and pioneered the whole thing for all of these women now that are on the sidelines, having to conduct these unfortunate interviews. And I've never seen a worse one than that. Have you, John? I mean, that was as meaningless as anything.
That was right up there with any of the coaches that the one-word answers. Yes, need to improve. We're going to try to do that. We need to protect the football. Yes.
We need touchdowns instead of field goals. Okay, Coach. Thanks, man.
Thanks.
Whoa.
And it's almost to the point where they should not do
That's a
them
disgrace.
anymore.
You're right. I mean, I've done a few of those. I've had to do a few of those. I used to do a lot of post, fight interviews in the ring. And you jump in there, and of course, the winner is pretty easy to interview, even if you speak Russian. You're able to, extract something from him. But what do you say to the loser? I mean,
and it's tough. It's kind of tough on the coach too, because you're getting ready for the second half. You hear the whistle in the background that they're about ready to kick it off, and you're standing there with your back to the field, and that's the last place he wants to be. Right? He wants to talk to his coordinators. Everybody thinks at halftime of an NFL game, you have all this time to go in and make adjustments. There's 10 minutes.
That's so fast.
I mean, you barely get to the locker room, and you look at the clock probably in the locker room, and it's got 6.5 minutes left.
Yep.
So you get something to drink. You kind of talk, maybe a minute or two with
change
your
jock straps,
guys,
maybe. Yeah.
Maybe change socks or or undershirt, whatever it is, and you go back out. And next time you look, it's 2 minutes before kickoff, and your guys, got to get out on the field. So the coaches are kind of put in a difficult spot too. So it's almost like you should bypass the halftime interview, with the coach. You'd rather get it after the game, save that time for after the game.
Well, McDaniel's just the opposite, man. I broke out like a philosophy book after to try and figure out, what genre he was speaking in. I mean, it was amazing, and he really got into some detail. Spoelstra's good like that. Eric Spoelstra.
Yeah.
In those interviews, but it all
depends on the coach.
Yeah,
it all depends on the coach. You got to kind of you're producing a game like that. You're saying, I think we're going to stay away from McDermott now at halftime.
I would never go to this guy again, ever.
Yeah,
and he convinced me that was absolutely useless. It was a Nick Saban embarrassment. It really was. Yeah. Although at least Saban will undress the person first, and just say, what kind of stupid question is that? What are we going to do different in the second half?
I remember I was doing that game on radio in Orlando, and Maria Taylor, I saw her after the game just in tears. She was just,
can you emasculate a woman? I guess.
Yeah, that was bad.
But, that was ugly. It really was. It's kind of crazy to see, that whole mode continue as part of a TV broadcast. But, it always gets me when there's action in the background. And you're thinking, don't you want to be watching a game? And, you're right. I mean, we always picture the coach in halftime having a big, Lombardi chalkboard.
Right.
And saying, I want a seal over here and a seal over here, and let's go get them, guys. Like they're doing a whole classroom thing there at halftime when all the guy wants to do is get the rock out of his shoe.
He wants to go
see the stat sheet, right? I only got 58 yards. I get a bonus with 42
in the old days, you go to the bathroom, you have a cigarette, you have a cup of coffee, and you go back out on the field. That was about it.
All right. Anything on the bowl scene that you're looking at?
I'm completely lost on the bowl scene right now, guys. I haven't watched one game, to be quite honest with you. I didn't even know it started. To be honest with you.
Oh, yeah. So, now when's Pittsburgh play? I was trying to find
They play usually around Christmas. They play UCLA in the Sun Bowl.
Okay. So they are one of the later bowls. All right. Oh, there they are. December 30th.
December 30th. So closer to New Year's, I usually, after Christmas, I start getting into it,
All right. And congratulations are in order, are they not? St. Thomas Aquinas?
Yeah, that's right. 14th. I think it was their 14th championship. Yeah.
How many did you win when you were there? Did you win every year?
No, we didn't win one when we were there. We kind of
started winning was when he was there.
We were, kind of breaking barriers down when we were there, because we were the team that, nobody wanted to schedule because they were getting kids from Coral Springs, you're getting kids from Plantation, and now they're coming in from other states, to
They're coming in from other countries, man.
Yeah,
they
to
had
play at St. Thomas.
A third-string kicker from Latvia I saw when I was doing St. Thomas League. I was looking on the roster there. The guy was from Latvia, literally.
Hopefully we won some games way back when to break down some barriers and do some good things to set the program up. And guys, now, I mean, it's just incredible how kids are going everywhere in the country, and it's fun to watch. I went to one of the playoff games against Tampa Jesuit, and it was a great atmosphere. And, Twan Russell's the AD there now, and Roger Harriet doing a really good job continuing on a great legacy started by George Smith. So, yeah, it's going really well there for St. Thomas.
George Smith really was a Lombardi of high school coaches, maybe across the country. No, what do you think? I know there have been many Fable guys.
He's got to be one of, you think about the state of Florida, and then you look around the country and how many guys that, are lucky enough to have a coach like that in a state. You always think of traditional rich, Ohio or Pennsylvania, Texas, California, New Jersey, states that produce a lot of college athletes and go on to play in professional sports. And he's got to be one of them that was a pillar definitely in the state of Florida and throughout the country.
I'll never forget that when he came in to do an interview show with us at Landlubbers, and the place was packed before he even got there. I mean, they had never seen that many people there. They're waiting outside, right? Mm-hmm. And it was great because whoever was the head of the Alumni Association comes up to me. He'd set the whole thing up, and he did a great job. And right before we go on, and Smith sits down, and he kind of casually knew me from doing some radio interviews. He says, "Don't mention anything about recruiting." Like that was going to be my first question.
Oh, that's great.
It was great. We love you, John.
Hey, that was fun. Feel better.
I'm okay. I'll live.
Thanks,
I'll make
Lubie.
it. Yeah. People have all kinds of problems. I'm sure I can get by mine, but it has been a hassle. That's for sure.
Have a Merry Christmas. We won't see you twice.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah.
You guys too.
All right, and we'll talk to you again next week. John Congemi. I suppose I should just get out of here after today. No,
I was gonna say I would go rest and enjoy. You made it through. I'm proud of you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. No, we did it. My work ethic was always. I would come in literally like.
I know.
Ready to go out on a gurney.
Well, keep you in the studio.
Oh my God!
Stay there.
What a stupid idea that was. I prided myself on this work ethic, and it was like the absolute dumbest thing that you could do. Right? You'd have been far better off just taking a day off and coming back tomorrow stronger than ever. No, but no, a lot of fun being with you guys as always. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Mike Mayo's lunchbox. I may be a scratch. I know Mayo's.
No, you're not yet. No, Defo.
It's probably a good idea. Rest this up. Yeah.
Rest.
Between the Quasimodo foot and
just rest.
Yeah, it might be better just to take care of everything.
Look at, and hopefully you'll feel better tomorrow.
That's happening later today, so that'll be good.
Yes.
All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow at 7 in the a.m. on the Defo Show. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time as we leave you now that.
The time.
It's 9:03.
Let's go eat a damn snack.
Look at the big arms in my soul.